Like to have everybody's attention for a moment.
There's a stat. I don't like bringing up stats, but there's one stat about the Panthers.
In the world is James Harden better scorer than Michael Jordan?
No, he's a more creative in that.
Traveling is not creative, Brandon.
You know, no matter what the score is, and they've said it themselves, whether they're up 10, down 20, whatever, they know they can turn it on whenever.
Why did you have to bring up the Cowboys in this conversation?
Lived in Texas for 2 years and just could not stand to watch Cowboy football.
All right, listen up.
Welcome to The Rundown. Here's Desmond Johnson.
And welcome to The Rundown. Coming out of the wetness of the past couple of days and all the rain that just hit the area, I'm your host, Desmond Johnson. I am joined by my regular Rundown crew, Hot Rod Funderburk back from assignment, and Brandon Blakney. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, another day alive and healthy, fellas. Glad to be back with y'all.
Hey, what's going on? Everything is lovely. It's about to get cold out here, man. I went from heat to winter all in like a week.
Yes,
the
sir.
70s and them 40s coming next week, man.
Hey, we still got probably second summer coming though, somewhere around the bend. It'll pop up. It'll be 85 degrees in a couple of days. So.
I hope you're right.
Speaking of feeling the heat, we got to start this off with something that has bothered me all year long in the NBA, and that is the Los Angeles Clippers. As y'all know, the Clippers were eliminated by the Denver Nuggets in Game 7 on Wednesday night this week, diverting us from what everyone thought was going to happen, which was a Los Angeles Lakers versus Clippers Battle of L.A. Western Conference Final. I am on record, and people can go check my Facebook. You can check my Twitter. I was not on the Clippers bandwagon the entire year, primarily for one sole reason. It still said Clippers on the front of their jersey. Like I didn't care who they had on the roster. Like this whole, they got Kawhi. They got Paul George. They got Lou Williams. They got all these dudes. They're built to beat the Lakers. And I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. Like I just don't feel it. The Clippers have never been to the Western Conference Finals in the history of their franchise. Now think back to some of the players that have played on the Los Angeles Clippers, like in their history. Didn't Elgin Baylor play on the Clippers?
Yep, Elgin Baylor did. He sure did.
They've had some legends come through here. Man,
Elgin
Baylor was a Laker too.
Yeah, Danny Manning was a number one overall pick by the Clippers. Blake Griffin was a number one overall pick by the Clippers.
Yeah, he and Chris Paul together. I mean,
Blake
Griffin and Chris Paul together.
Lob City.
Lob City came through there. Shea Gregorius Alexander came through
and
there.
they traded him off and all this. Mm-hmm. So now the Clippers are in a situation where they've got problems because the contracts for Paul George and Kawhi are kind of similar, where they can opt out after next year. Like they basically sign like 4-year deals with a player option after year 2. And nobody knows what Kawhi wants or thinks or whatnot. First things first, though, that I got to ask my panel: did Kawhi overplay his position? Should he have stayed in Toronto?
From what I've heard, I know that he was not wanting to be away from family, so I know that had something to do with it. But from a basketball standpoint, purely, I absolutely think if he stays in Toronto, those guys repeat as NBA champions with what they had this year. Yeah. Plus that, them bright lights in LA, man, everybody's not built for LA. It's not always a talent thing. It's more of a mindset and a mentality thing you got to have. And Paul George, man, he I don't think he showed it. And Kawhi Leonard has that Tim Duncan persona, but he don't have the consistency or the durability that Tim Duncan had, in my opinion.
Yeah. Now, Brandon, I agree with you on, Kawhi Leonard, not having what he needed like Tim Duncan, his whole mindset there. However, I do believe, and I agree with you, that if he stays in Toronto, yes, Toronto does win another championship. But Kawhi Leonard is a different individual. Championship to me wasn't a big deal to Kawhi. He won them in San Antonio. No big deal. He's got a championship. He went and won one in Toronto. He only had to go to Toronto because of the way San Antonio dealt him. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like that was his first choice.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Anywhere west.
Yeah. He didn't want to go.
Siberia.
Yeah, he definitely didn't want to go over there. I mean, Kawhi Leonard made it clear he is a tropical brother and wants to stay
on the West Coast.
All day long. You know what I'm saying? And Kawhi's one of those guys who's going to do what Kawhi wants to do. And you're right. We have no idea what he's going to do. But I think, Kawhi, do what you do. Enjoy your life. He said he's making money. He's got plenty of money. He wants the team to treat him well. And I think that's where he's coming from, because ever since he was handled wrong in San Antonio, it has now been about how you treat me, Kawhi Leonard. And I can't blame him for it.
You know, this thought just crossed my mind in a perfect scenario for the city of Los Angeles and the way the contracts line up. After next year, last year is the last year of the 4-year deal that LeBron signed with the Lakers. What if LeBron retires at the end of that contract and Kawhi just moves across the hallway?
See, and that's my thing. With LA, though, to be a Laker, man, I'm not a Laker fan, but I respect the legacy. You got to be a special kind of dude to be a Laker. Like
Kawhi couldn't be a Laker?
I don't think so.
Like with AD?
I mean, you think you talking about how people treat you?
Yeah.
Losing LA to the Nuggets in 7 as a Laker and see how you get treated.
I'm a Laker fan. Everybody that listens to the show knows that I'm a Laker fan, and I can't even fathom this Laker team losing to this Nuggets team. Like,
you heard what Kobe said. You got to be mentally tough. You shouldn't have to get recruited to play for the Lakers. You either want to be there, you built for it, or you're not. And
that's a great point.
I don't know if Kawhi's about that life, man. He low key to me. He real low key.
I was surprised that he didn't shoot very well in Game 7, but he's been kind of carrying the team because I don't know who did Paul George give himself the name Playoff P? Because I don't know who gave that to him.
Yeah, man. Because he was looking like way off P last night.
Yeah.
That last shot he shot that hit the side of the backboard.
I never seen a shot do that from the corner, hit it off the backboard. Like, I never seen nothing like that.
Hey, guys, I got to interrupt y'all on something now. Because I hear y'all talking about Kawhi Leonard and not being ready to do this and ready to do that. Now, I could have sworn that when I was talking about LeBron James being the best player, number 1, top 2 player, there were a lot of people telling me Kawhi Leonard was ahead of LeBron James, and I believe a couple of them people might be on this panel right here.
Oh, that was never
if I'm not
me,
mistaken.
sir. Are you questioning me out of all people about LeBron? Me
I know that wasn't Brandon.
About LeBron?
There was somebody on one of these panels that told me Kawhi was a better player than LeBron James.
It might have been. It sounds like Brian Snow. That sounds like something Brian Snow would have said.
That may have been it, but I had to make sure. Because I was shocked just now when I just heard Kawhi being put down the way he was. And I know I had to fight for LeBron James being the man.
You never fought for LeBron against me with anything.
Okay, all right.
Brandon ain't it. Brandon ain't
I'm going to war with LeBron.
I will say this though.
Dez, that wasn't you now, was it?
Was that Dez?
I'm a LeBron. I'm a LeBron fan. Come on, bro. You know I'm a LeBron fan.
All right. I know you're a Lakers
Kawhi.
fan. I know you're a Lakers fan.
Well, no, I'm a LeBron. I'm the kind of LeBron fan. I follow where LeBron goes. So like when LeBron goes to Miami, I'm a Heat fan. He goes back to the Cavs. I'm a Cavs fan.
Out there like that.
I was a Laker fan already from like a little kid. So when he went to the Lakers, that was a dream come true for me.
Or maybe that was Aaron Gabriel. Maybe that's who it was.
That sounds like something Aaron would have said too.
Controversial.
Yeah. All right. Gotcha.
I have a question though from watching these playoffs. There's a conversation that has not happened yet that I think probably should start happening. When are we going to start putting the name Jimmy Butler in one of the best players in the league? Like he might be top 3 right now.
He's top 3 closer. Maybe even number 1 closer right now. He might be number 1 closer right now.
He got that Kobe in him, man.
I mean,
he's
just like that dog, man.
Yeah, he just got that thing in him.
And I'm gonna tell you what, I don't know who his teammate was, but the big man in the middle.
Bam Adebayo.
Yes,
High Point Christian Academy.
Shout out to High Point Christian. We'll be broadcasting those football games starting next Friday.
You know they only make them like that in the hoops. Man, that's only Carolina right there.
He performed the best defensive block I have seen in a minute in the playoffs. I mean, that was just in your face.
I almost feel bad for Jason Tatum because in theory he should have broke Bam's hand. I mean, like he literally bent it all the way back to the cup.
That's what I thought was going to happen. But I have no sympathy for him because he was a Duke gentleman, wasn't he? Didn't he go to Duke? Well, I expect that. I expect that from a Duke player.
They've been playing great though. Tyler Hero, a lot of unsung guys that really. Gordon Dragic's been good for them.
In Miami, man, they do it in a way that I wish Charlotte had done it because they were kind of in the similar positions like 2 years ago where both of them were overspending. Things were looking grim. You didn't really know how they're going to get out of it. And Miami turned it around, man. They traded off Hassan Whiteside to Portland. They got rid of some bad contracts. They did great drafts. Great draft. Tyler Hero. Nobody was looking at Tyler Hero like that.
No.
When he drafted him.
You get the Duncan Robinson kid who's undrafted. As well as the Kendrick Nunn kid who was first team all rookie.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, you have to attribute that. you have to attribute that to management in your Raleigh. You know what I'm saying? Pat Riley.
Pat Riley.
You got to
And
attribute
Eric
that to him.
Spoelstra.
And
Spoelstra's
great basketball
yeah.
mind.
And Eric Spoelstra being able to go in the kitchen and cook up the ingredients that he's been given, man. You can't do any better job.
But all of that, having said that, it all to me comes back to Jimmy Butler and them recognizing, like, if I remember, Paul George wasn't Kawhi's first pick to go with him to LA. It was Jimmy Butler. He wanted Jimmy Butler to go with him to LA. But Jimmy was like, nah, man, I'm gonna go to Miami. And Paul was kind of like the second choice. Like when they decided to go get Paul, when they made that trade happen, that's when Kawhi was like, okay, I'll come sign with you. But his original thing was go get Jimmy Butler.
Because Kawhi waited so late.
Yeah, he waited because Jimmy was doing his thing with courting suitors or whatever, and then eventually signed with Miami. So the whole thing played out because he was waiting on Jimmy. And Jimmy was like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. So
because for a minute, I thought Jimmy was going back to the Sixers. I really did.
He probably, if he had,
I think
the
he
Sixers
would
would have been a lot
have
better.
if they wanted him. Yeah, I feel like there was just a mutual kind of misunderstanding there, communication.
Hey, guys, can I interrupt and ask y'all about a player? And we don't have to stay on it long. Yeah. But Kemba. What is the deal with Kemba? To me, he was a great player with the Hornets. He's still a great player with Boston. But when I saw it look like he was trying to do too much. I mean, is that kind of what you guys saw being his first time being in the Eastern Conference Finals? Was he trying to do too much, or is Kemba just playing his game?
A little bit of both. I think, well, for starters, he's hurt. I think he's got a hurt leg or something like that didn't completely heal right when we came back from.
I was thinking he was healed from his injury. Okay.
I think he's still hobbled a little bit. It's not going to stop him from the playoffs. He ain't been in the playoffs ever. I don't think this is the first time he's ever been in the playoffs.
They made it with the Hornets. He's just never been this far.
Yeah. Right. So and then also, I'm pretty sure that what's the coach of the Celtics?
Brad Stevens.
If I'm not mistaken, I had heard that they run ISO for Kemba in late game situations because he's the best ball handler. So they usually put him at the top. He's the point guard. They put him at the top of the key. They let him cook a little bit, and he just hasn't been hitting his shots.
I mean, that step back is damn near.
It's brutal. It's brutal.
Filthy.
Yeah.
It's filthy. I mean, I love Kemba. I'm happy for him that he's gone to a place where Boston's going to be competing the next 3 or 4 years. That core that they have. They all played together USA basketball, like Kemba and Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. Like, they all played together. Remember back in the summer? It might have been last year. Remember we were clowning the USA team because they lost to somebody? Yeah. They were all on that team. That was all them. They were all on that team, the 4 of them. That was before Kemba had left. And when Kemba signed with them, I was like, okay, that makes sense. He just spent 3 months with them playing on the U.S. Basketball team or whatever. So they kind of have a cohesion that other teams didn't have. That's why Boston is playing so well. Miami's playing well because, like you said, Brandon, they got Jimmy Butler. He's just like a dog. He's got that Kobe in him, really. It's Kobe Mamba mentality. Yeah. Jimmy Butler is the epitome of it right now. And then on the other side, you got Lakers and Nuggets. At the very beginning of this season, way, way, way back, pre-COVID, back in October, I'd picked Lakers Celtics in the finals because I felt like LeBron and AD are 2 of the top 5 players in the entire league. And when you have that combination, typically you're going to make it to the NBA Finals. And I felt like the Celtics had the best core and the youngest best core out of anybody in the East. I would have given it to Toronto if Kawhi had stayed. But with him leaving, it made it where Toronto doesn't really have a go-to guy to score at the end of a game. Pascal Siakam isn't it. Like, they want to push him like he's Jordan, but really he's more of a Pippen. Like, he's not. He's a second kind of guy. He's not going to be a 30-point-a-game type guy. Boston has that in Tatum. Tatum's going to be in the next 2 or 3 years. He's going to be a first team all-star starter. He's that kind of good. So Boston has that, and they're super young, and they got money, and they got picks. So Boston's going to be around for a couple years. The Lakers. This is more of a get this in the next 2 years while LeBron is here, because after next year LeBron will be 36, going on 37, and that'd be year 18.
Wow,
LeBron might hang it up after that. I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah,
but,
that means that.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see it. But I think you bring in another cat to play with AD, and I mean, Lakerland will be just fine. Kawhi, man, he ain't built to be a Laker. You can't make somebody be what you want them to be.
Would you rather have Kawhi or Paul George? Because they'll both be available. They can both opt out.
I don't think either one of them are Lakers, but I definitely don't think Paul George is. You know who I would rather have out of them? Give me Brandon Ingram back.
Most
Go
improved
get Brandon
player of the
Ingram
year.
back. Go get
Go
Brandon
prime
Ingram.
from the
In
Pelicans.
3 years from now, Brandon Ingram.
Him
Go
and
get
AD?
Brandon Ingram. Yeah,
I
go
could,
get Brandon
yeah,
Ingram
I
back.
could see that. I could see that. I could see that for sure.
And
One
they'll
real quick-
welcome him home. He's a Laker for life.
Real quick, we can't get past it. And since we're in this NBA segment, we're going to take a break here in just a bit. Gotta ask, if you were Giannis, what would you do? You just secured the top record in the NBA for the second year in a row. You just won your second MVP for the second year in a row, and it almost feels like the Bucks are not equipped to win the NBA championship. And you're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
What would you do? Now he grew up there basically, so it's not like I'm stuck here. Like everything he knows about American culture, it comes from there. So it's not that easy of a decision. But if you were Giannis, would you want to leave, or would you stay and have them build around you?
I'm absolutely getting out of there, and I'm taking my talents to Miami to team up with Jimmy.
Oh.
One, because I believe that under Pat Riley and Eric Spoelstra, two of the greatest basketball minds, they would be magnificent. It's Miami, baby. Come on now. Dade County, Wade County.
No state sales tax in Florida.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He goes and he can be the number 2 there. Not saying he won't be the most talented, but he don't have to be the focal point of the team. He can just go out there and kill and focus on playing ball while Jimmy Butler's the leader and the closer of games. So I think that, and then he's unfollowed all his teammates apparently, and he's unfollowed the Bucks. Yeah. So I mean,
he's still under contract for like another year. So
I mean, if they don't trade him this year, you get nothing. If you know that he's leaving and you don't trade him next year, you get nothing. So I don't know if you want to play ball like that if you're Milwaukee.
What would you do, Rod?
I tell you what, it's hard to make decisions like that. And it depends on your mindset. You know, I'm still of the old school mindset, kind of like Jordan. You get to a team, you sign with that team, you stay with that team for life. But the generations have changed. People are now, they're going to play with their friends. They're going to play where the weather is warm. It doesn't matter who drafted you. It doesn't matter who. Only thing that matters in the NBA is that you are there. And so it just depends on the mindset, guys. Me personally, I think I stay in Milwaukee. I tell that franchise to build around me. It is my home spot. It is where I came into America at. And you know what? I'm going to make it happen and show everybody that I am the greatest player by being the only key piece to stay there and let Milwaukee bring the correct pieces to me to make this thing a success. That's what I do.
Milwaukee general manager John Horst said back in September of 2019 that a Supermax contract extension would be eligible for Giannis in 2020, and they would absolutely offer it. I'm trying to find out how much it would be.
I mean, he's got to be talking about $200 million or so.
It'd have to be like 240, something like that. And that's if he leaves, then he doesn't get that extra fifth year, which means it's like $35-40 million less than what he could get any place else. So we'll find out here soon enough here. Brandon Blakney, Rod Funderburk on with me. We'll be back in just a minute. We're going to give you a Panthers versus Bucks preview. Tom Brady taking on Teddy Bridgewater. Plus, we got an exclusive interview with High Point Christian head coach Scott Bell and his quarterback Luke Homol as they get prepared for the 2020 season. You'll be able to hear most of that season right here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio starting September the 25th at 6:30 p.m. We'll be back in just a minute with the rundown. And welcome back to the Rundown. I am your host, Desmond Johnson. On the line with us on the Rundown hotline, we have High Point Christian football head coach Scott Bell and his quarterback, Luke Homol. What's going on, fellas?
It's a great day. We're just in the process of preparing for our first game. And obviously today, as I mentioned, we're not able to get out on the field. So we're going to use the time the best we can by getting a lift in and getting a little more film.
So let me set the stage here for the triad if they're not aware. High Point Christian is in the North Carolina Independent School Athletic Association, and they had ruled that they were going to go forward with the fall season, which included football. High Point Christian will kick off their 2020 football season against Metrolina Christian Academy at 7 p.m. We will actually have that game here live for you on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. The pregame show will start at 6:30. That game is at the High Point Athletic Fields. However, no fans will be allowed in attendance. So if you want a little bit of high school football flavor, definitely check out High Point Christian versus Metrolina here on TRSR starting at 6:30 next Friday. Starting off with you, Coach Bell, how's this experience been preparing your team in the middle of a global pandemic? I got to think that it's a little bit different than it's been in previous off seasons. No,
definitely different and crazy, I guess you could say, as well. As so many ups and downs, so many changes. Just had to adjust along the way. We're fortunate that we'll be able to play, and I feel for all the public school kids out there that are not able to play. And hopefully, with if we can get the season in and escape any major issues, that perhaps we're setting the stage for public schools getting ready to get back on the field as well.
And what about you, Luke, being the quarterback of the team? How has it been, especially that period of time where you guys weren't even sure if you were going to play this year? It was kind of a stop and go type of situation there. How hard was it for you to prep as a player, especially being a quarterback? Did you have ways to be able to maybe get up with your wide receivers, or was there any way to be able to have any kind of actual face-to-face contact with some of your players? How have you been able to prepare for this season?
Yes, sir. It was definitely a challenge early on this year because we weren't allowed to have coaches involved in anything that we were doing, and so pretty much I held a little bit of little workouts, separation. We were doing practicing the social distancing, and especially with wide receivers and stuff, it's pretty easy to separate yourself with them because obviously you're throwing a football, you're not interacting with them, but it's definitely a challenge, especially early on this year because you're trying to get your guys motivated, but you're not even too sure if you're having a season. So, but we got a lot of guys with their head on straight and a lot of smart football players. So we're just trying to get the job done.
So both you guys know the Triad is rich in high school football tradition going way back decades. And with there being no public schools playing high school football this fall, you guys are going to basically have the spotlight to yourselves on Fridays when we broadcast your games. Again, High Point Christian against Metrolina Christian Academy next Friday, 6:30 pregame, 7 o'clock kickoff. You guys were the 2015 Division III state champs, 2016 Division II state champs. Coach Bell, tell me a little bit about the tradition of football at High Point Christian for those that may not be aware that they've had this team underneath their nose this entire time and never got a chance to really check you guys out. What would you say about the tradition of the program?
My staff's been there for 7 years. I'll speak to that. We started out in Division III. The team had never won more than 4 games, and our first year we went 8-2 during the regular season and went on to the playoffs and lost in the first round. But that kind of started things for us. And like you said, in 2015 we were still in Division III. We won Division III and a big win and a state championship, and then they moved us to Division II in 2016, and we won that at home as well. And then the following year they moved us to Division I. So we have progressed along the way from small and somewhat inexperienced, not a lot of tradition, to the point where now we're open to playing pretty much any team, public, private, or whatever, and being able to compete.
Now, I was a bit familiar with High Point Christian because one of your more famous alumni, Bam Adebayo, was one of your former students that went to school there. Of course, many people have been talking about Bam throughout the course of this past week with what he's been doing in the playoffs with the Boston Celtics. But you've had some great players that have come through this program. We were talking about this off the air a couple of days ago, and you were kind of going through, who you've had there. What type of team would you say that you have this season, Coach Bell? What would you consider the team strength of the 2020 High Point Christian Academy Cougars?
Well, 2019, we had 8 seniors. 4 of them went on to play Division I football. So that team was very talented. This group here is a little bit different in that we don't have that superstar that's going to get offered by Chapel Hill or Georgia or Clemson or whatever, but we have a lot of good football players. And we're more deep. We're a little bigger than we've been. And quite honestly, you can't just focus on 1 or 2 players because there's, our skill guys with 5 or 6 players that can hurt you. So I think we're more well-rounded. Like I said, the roster's a little bit bigger and we're a little bit deeper, which is going to set us up for hopefully a run into the playoffs.
On the line with us, head coach Scott Bell and quarterback Luke Homol from High Point Christian Academy, who we will have their home games here live on Tobacco Road Sports Radio starting next Friday at 6:30 p.m. You can catch myself and Rod Funderburk on that call. Luke, what would you consider the strength of your offense? Because a lot of times, especially in high school, a high school team will typically lean one way or another. They're either heavy on the pass or they're heavy on the run. Every once in a while, you find a team that's kind of got a nice mix between the two. How would you describe the offense that you're running in 2020 at High Point Christian?
What's dangerous about this year is our O-line is not just big, they're also athletic too. So as much as I want to say passing is our strength, which I love to throw the ball, I just wouldn't know because our O-line is just so athletic and we have a really good running back core, and it's just, I don't know, we're just lethal all around. So
I like to hear that. That's good stuff. Now, Coach Bell, I asked Luke about, how hard has it been, preparing for this, as I did for you. How do you think the kids have handled this in your eyes? Like watching them kind of go through this. And the practices have been, all over the place. You kind of had it countered and you didn't. Then they gave you the green light. How do you think that your kids have handled this up to this point? And how do you think they're going to prepare through the rest of this season? Can they take this as a regular season, or are you treating this as a little bit different than what a normal season would be?
I was really concerned going into the season. When I say season, the practice era, I guess, that we were in, that guys would lose focus because you didn't have that competition in front of you. You didn't have that jamboree or that scrimmage or even knowing that you're going to play on Friday nights. But they stayed steadfast. And I think the group, it says a lot for the group of seniors like Luke himself that were disciplined, committed all along. And real attribute to them, because I don't think every team would be the same way, but because we've got some guys that were so dedicated to getting out there and playing. And so I think they've done a great job in trying to stay focused despite all the uncertainty. I honestly did not think a month ago. I kept having guys ask me, "Do you think the season's going to happen?" And I tried to stay optimistic and kind of brush off the question more than anything else because I didn't know the answer. But deep inside, I felt like the momentum was moving in the wrong direction, and I wasn't very optimistic inside that we were going to play. And when we got to the news, I fell off the couch because I was so excited that you got to be kidding me. We're playing. So that was a shot in the arm for the guys. From that point forward, it's been nothing less than, elation and looking forward to getting out there again and playing Friday night against Metro Atlanta.
I know a lot of coaches around the area that are super envious of you guys being able to go out there and play, because for one, I think going in the fall actually is an advantage for you guys, because in the spring, a lot of these teams in the area aren't going to have their full palette of players. Some of these players that have signed with colleges already are leaving for early entry, so they won't be available in the spring. Plus, football is going to be competing with everything else that normally goes on in the spring, as opposed to having it to themselves in the fall. So we'll kind of see what happens with that on the public school end. But again, you guys are going to have the spotlight to yourselves here in the Triad. There isn't another school in the Triad, in the independent school athletic association for North Carolina, that has a football team currently other than High Point Christian. So really no football Friday nights for about 100 miles from you guys. So definitely check them out on Tobacco Road Sports Radio next Friday. Gotta ask, Luke, do you have a college football team that you're following right now? A team that you like to watch?
I'm a Florida Gator fan. I have family in Florida, and my mom graduated from there, so I've always been a Gator boy.
They're talking they might be able to do a little something this year. What are your thoughts on the SEC starting really the same weekend you guys are going to be starting with basically an all SEC schedule? How do you think this is going to play out? Because they're going to actually have in some of those stadiums in the South, upwards of 30, 40,000 people in the stands. How do you think, just seeing how this has all played out so far, do you think the SEC will be able to get through their season?
Absolutely. I think the SEC is going to set an example, and then the Big Ten will come in and follow them. And I think we're going to start getting back to normal here pretty soon.
So give me a prediction, because it sounds like if the Big Ten's coming back like they voted to do, 4 of the 5 power conferences will be playing, so technically they could put together a college football playoff. Can you give me a prediction of who you think might be those 4 teams right now in September?
I do not know enough college football right now. I really am not into that stuff right now. I'm really trying to focus on winning a state championship. So
that's a great answer. I'm sure your coach was clapping at that answer. That's a good answer. Coach Bell, what do you find that your offense and defensive coordinators, do you guys take a lot of things from the college game, or do you feel like you guys are more adaptable and can switch your styles based on the opponent you're playing?
I'm the OC, and so offensively, I try to tailor what we're going to do each week, and for that matter, each year based on the personnel. And as Luke mentioned before, this year we're more balanced than we've ever been, and I like to throw the ball. I get ribbed about it all the time, but I like to throw the ball a lot, and therefore we've had a lot of good quarterbacks come through the program, including Luke's older brother. Running the ball this year are going to be a priority for us as well. So I look at us probably maybe even a little more heavy towards run than pass. But I look at we run our offense. I'm not going to say the same each week to week, but I try to look to see the opponent that we're playing and try to tailor our game plan towards that.
Is there any particular offense from the past, pro or college, that you kind of would compare yours to in terms of scheme, whether it's like, old school Buffalo Bills K-gun offense or run and shoot or West Coast offense, or what would you compare your offensive style to?
And again, this year being different, we never have run a tight end before, and now we're utilizing a tight end more. Oh, okay. I gotta say the answer I'm going to give you is kind of a plug for my team, but I'm a We Are Penn State fan, and okay. I'd like to think that we're not the old school Penn State where it's just rely on your defense, but the Trace McSorley era and so forth, where you run and pass and have a quarterback that can run and so forth. So that would be the answer I would give you.
How do you think Penn State's going to do in the Big Ten now that their on again, off again relationship with the world is back on again, and apparently they're going to be playing here in a couple of weeks? How do you feel about your Nittany Lions?
They're going to be solid. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously Ohio State has been like a nemesis for us. So getting a win against Ohio State, Michigan, those are always big wins, and then hopefully they can make it onto the playoffs as well.
On the line with us, head coach Scott Bell and quarterback Luke Homol from High Point Christian Academy. Their season begins next Friday right here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, starting at 6:30 p.m., so definitely don't miss that live. Guys, what will it take for High Point Christian to walk away with the NCISAA state title this year? What are some of the keys that you think you guys are going to have to be able to hit to be able to get there?
My answer to that is number one, staying away from injuries, and that first and foremost. Last year, we went to the second round of playoffs and we had 9 guys out, and then on top of that, another handful, including Luke, just coming back from major injuries, were not themselves. So, with a roster our size, which is a little bigger than last year's, that'll help some, but we've got to stay away from the injury bug. That's the most critical thing for us.
Luke, what would you say from the player perspective? What do you think you need to do as one of the leaders of this team to kind of get your guys there to that mindset that a state title can be in reach in 2020?
You just got I've been telling the guys, just one play at a time, one game at a time. That's how you be undefeated and win the state championship. So don't focus on next week. Focus on the week that's in front of you and beat the next team, win the next play.
Guys, I've loved having you on. Love to have you back on throughout the season as we go through. Good luck on this season. Wishing you guys a healthy season, safe season. And we're proud at Tobacco Road Sports Radio to be able to go and broadcast these games, not just to your faculty and your family and your friends there at High Point Christian, but to the whole triad and beyond, and to give the triad a little bit of taste of high school football that I know they're desperately missing right now. I appreciate you both for coming on the rundown this morning, and I definitely will be talking to both of you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And that's another edition of The Rundown. I'm Desmond Johnson. Stick around. A Stone's Throw with Ryan Stone coming up next on TRSR.